everybody? Brian here with BPS Customs, and although this card may look familiar, this wolf in sheep's clothing is like nothing you've ever seen before at this price point. This is the GTX 1070 review. When NVIDIA announced the new 10 series graphics cards and claimed that the new 1080 outperformed the previous generation's $1,000 flagship Titan X, this was a fairly reasonable and moderately believable claim. After all, the new 16nm FinFET process, inclusion of 8 gigs of GDDR5X, and refined power delivery to the all-new Pascal architecture would certainly produce some gains over the previous generation's MacLeod chip. However, it's not unusual, and unfortunately it does tend to be the norm, that OEMs exaggerate their product performance to build anticipation before day one of a major release's launch. When later in that same press conference, NVIDIA went on to claim that not only does the $700 1080 outperform the Titan X, but its little brother, the $450 1070, does as well, many skeptics were born. First off, why would NVIDIA undercut their own product in such an egregious manner? And secondly, how is it even possible that Pascal delivers that much of a performance boost over Maxwell for less than half the price? Well, we're going to put those claims to the test right now. If you've watched my video on the GTX 1080, right here, this card will look familiar to you. It sports the same redesigned shroud as the 1080, which NVIDIA has chosen to rename Founders Edition in an attempt to make it sound more exclusive. In reality, NVIDIA has actually chosen to become a direct retailer for the 1070 and the 1080 for the entire life of the cards. This means they'll be producing Founders Edition cards for the foreseeable future, and there's no real exclusivity involved here. This is unfortunate because although Founders Edition cards are not bad looking, they do carry a price premium over the board partner cards and have several performance shortcomings. First, the reference cooler, while effective in small form factor cases due to lack of overall air circulation, does a subpar job compared to third-party cards with coolers sporting 2 or even 3 fans. The blower style fan has to ramp up significantly to move a high enough volume of air to cool the heatsink, making it both louder and less efficient than coolers such as MSI's Twin Frozer. Additionally, the card consistently runs hotter than its board partner brethren, and if you're not savvy with programs like MSI Afterburner, you'll find that the 1070 butts up against the power limit early and often while gaming. This will lead to the card's self-throttling and significantly decreased performance. Availability is another issue at the time this video was shot. The 1070 was released on June 10th, and as of the shooting of this video on June 16th, still is not readily available at online retailers. I'm not sure what the initial allocation of cards was, but clearly it wasn't enough. eBay listings are going for well in excess of MSRP, and I've heard a lot of grumblings from people who've been looking forward to this card for a long time and are still unable to get one. With those complaints out of the way, it's time for the good news. The 1070 does in fact outperform the Titan X with a small asterisk. Stock settings for the 1080 clock it at 1683 MHz after GPU boost kicks in, and this isn't quite enough to get it there. Despite the lack of an exceptional cooling solution, creative overclockers will be able to get this card up and above 2000 MHz. In fact, in our testing, we were able to hit 2100 MHz, and the card was stable enough to complete our entire benchmarking suite. To be honest, this overclocking result was pretty shocking. As with the 1080, this card is powered by only a single 8-pin power connector, and it draws even less total wattage than its big brother. At 150 watts TDP, it draws a full 100 watts less than the Maxwell 980 Ti. The GP104 chip in the 1070 is a slightly cut down version of the one in the 1080, as it features 1920 CUDA cores versus the 1080's 2560. The card sports a full 8 gigs of VRAM, although it's of the GDDR5 variety that's missing the cool X that the 1080 gets to say it has. Even giving these noticeable shortcomings versus the other 10 series card, the 1070 is an admirable performer. Our test bench featured an Intel i7-6900K, review here, 16 gigs of crucial DDR4, an ADATA 240 gig SSD, and the MSI X99A Gaming Pro Carbon motherboard, review here. Let's take a look at how the 1070 stacks up against the 980 Ti and the 1080. As I alluded to before, the 1070 does outperform the Titan X at overclocked speeds, as we could see in our benchmarking results, as the 980 Ti does a reasonable Titan X impression. Benchmarking results for the actual Titan X are slightly higher, and it does put some distance between itself and the 1070 when you overclock the Titan. With that being said though, and with the benchmarks out of the way, who even cares that the Titan X still exists anymore? The GTX 1070 is a workhorse of a graphics card. It's an admirable 1080p and 1440p performer, and if you get two of them together in SLI, you're jumping right into the meat of 4K gaming. Even doing that, you're still a full $100 less than one Titan X. Spoiler alert, I have a second 1070, and I'll be putting together a GTX 1070 SLI video, so watch out for that. As the spiritual successor to the venerable 970, the GTX 1070 continues the tradition of being the absolute best mainstream graphics card you could buy. The 1080, while clearly the better performer, does fall into the enthusiast category, as it does cost $700. The 970 was a fantastic seller and a great performer across all levels of games. It provided years of solid performance, was a great overclocker, and did amazing things in SLI. The 1070 is following closely in its footprints with huge performance gains to boot. The 1070 gets our seal of approval, and if you could find one, I'd recommend picking it up. You certainly won't be disappointed. Now I have a few housekeeping things to go over, guys. I am now an Amazon affiliate. Check out my Amazon affiliate code in the description down below. If you can, if you want to support me, change your bookmark for Amazon to that link. It helps me out just a little bit, helps keep the channel going. Also, all the products that I link in the video description are through my Amazon affiliate account. I want to be clear with that. So if you feel like you want to pick up one of these 1070s, I've linked to it down in the description through Amazon. Hopefully it's in stock when you click on it. So that's about it for this video, guys. As always, I remind you, get subscribed to this channel. We got so much more content coming. We got a GTX 1070 SLI video. I'm still rebuilding Deep Red. I'm sorry that's taking so long, but I have a lot of videos to edit right now. I also have some great content coming up on video and audio equipment and a lot of other reviews in the queue. So stay tuned, and as always, thanks for watching.